When Jaehaerys the Conciliator died in 103 AC, his chosen heir was his grandson Viserys Targaryen, son of Prince Baelon. The Great Council of 101 AC had placed him above Princess Rhaenys and her children. Thus, Viserys came to the throne amid peace and plenty, inheriting a full treasury, a secure realm, and more dragons than Westeros had ever seen since the Doom. The reign of Viserys was the high tide of House Targaryen's power. Never again would so many dragons live at one time. Syrax, Caraxes, Vhagar, Seasmoke, Vermax, Dreamfire, and more. The royal family itself was larger than ever, with more princes and princesses of the blood than in any age before or since. Yet beneath this golden surface, fissures grew that would one day split the realm in two. Viserys first wed Aemma Arryn, who bore him one surviving daughter, Rhaenyra. From her childhood, Viserys doted upon her. He brought her to council sessions, made her heir to Dragonstone, and allowed lords to swear homage to her. Singers named her the realm's delight. By age 7, she was already a dragon rider, flying Syrax through the skies. When Aemma died in childbirth in 105 AC, and her infant son Baelon perished the next day, Viserys, weary of pressure over succession, formally declared Rhaenyra his heir. A grand ceremony saw lords kneel before her, but not all accepted a woman's claim, and her uncle Daemon Targaryen notably withheld his homage. Prince Daemon Targaryen was Viserys' younger brother, mercurial, dangerous, and dashing. Given the Valyrian steel blade Dark Sister, he had been among Viserys' fiercest backers at the Great Council. But he soon became a thorn. Appointed commander of the City Watch, he armed them in golden cloaks, earning their famous name. Crime fell, but his brutal punishments gave him a sinister reputation. Restless for power, Daemon fought in the Stepstones alongside Corlys Velaryon, Lord of the Tides, warring against the triarchy of Lys, Myr, and Tyrosh. He slew Craghas Crabfeeder in single combat, crowned himself king of the Narrow Sea, then returned to offer the crown to Viserys. His love-hate bond with his brother never broke, though his ambitions never slept. In 106 AC, Viserys remarried, taking Alicent Hightower, daughter of his hand, Sir Otto Hightower. Their union brought new heirs, Aegon, Helaena, and Aemond. Though Viserys declared Rhaenyra his heir, Alicent and her father pressed for her son Aegon to be preferred, citing the Great Council's precedent of male primogeniture. The court soon split into factions: the Blacks, loyal to Rhaenyra, and the Greens, loyal to Alicent and her children. Their rivalry grew sharper after the tourney of 111 AC, when Alicent appeared in a green gown and Rhaenyra in black and red. From that day, the colours of Queen and Princess marked their parties. The years that followed saw scandal and strife. Rhaenyra's rumoured affair with Sir Harwin Strong, her later marriage to Prince Daemon after his first wife's suspicious death, and the birth of sons whose paternity was questioned, all stoked tension. Viserys tried to keep peace by forbidding any mention of bastardy, under pain of having tongues torn out. Meanwhile, tragedy struck. A fire consumed Harrenhal, killing Hand of the King Lionel Strong and his son Harwin. Some whispered of plots by Larys Strong, Lionel's crippled younger son, or even Daemon himself. The king, weary and ill, recalled Sir Otto Hightower as hand at Alicent's urging. By the late 120s AC, the royal family was split beyond repair. Rhaenyra held Dragonstone with her sons, Daemon at her side. Alicent and her children commanded the court in King's Landing. Each side raised allies, each harboured grievances. The birth of Rhaenyra's sons by Daemon, including Aegon the Younger and Viserys, only added to the rivalries, for Alicent's eldest was also named Aegon. In 129 AC, Viserys I died, leaving behind not peace, but two rival factions, each ready to crown a different monarch. The Dance of the Dragons had begun. Viserys I's reign was remembered as prosperous and largely peaceful. Never had the Targaryens been stronger, never had their dragons been so many. Yet his indecision and refusal to resolve the question of succession doomed the realm. By naming Rhaenyra, then fathering sons by Alicent, and never reconciling the factions, he left Westeros on the brink of civil war. Thus ended the reign of Viserys, the first Targaryen, the king of peace, whose choices sowed the storm. His death lit the spark that would engulf the realm in dragonfire. In the next episode, we begin the story of that cataclysm, the Dance of the Dragons, the bloodiest war ever fought in Westeros. No war in the history of Westeros was bloodier than the Dance of the Dragons. It was a war of succession, a war of fire, a war where dragon fought dragon. Worst of all, it was a war of kin, brother against sister, mother against stepdaughter. The seeds were sown during the reign of Viserys I, but the spark came the moment he died in 129 AC. Viserys had named his daughter Rhaenyra his heir and forced lords to swear to her claim. Yet when he passed, Queen Alicent Hightower and her allies acted swiftly. Before Viserys's body was even cold, they closed the gates of King's Landing and crowned Alicent's son Aegon II in the Dragon Pit, with Sir Criston Cole, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, placing the crown upon his head. Cole would be forever remembered as the Kingmaker. The first blood spilled in the war came during the council that followed. Lord Beesbury, Master of Coin, declared that Rhaenyra was the true heir. For his defiance, he was murdered on the spot. Accounts differ. Some say Cole slit his throat, others that he was hurled from a window. However it happened, his death marked the first casualty of the dance. On Dragonstone, the news drove Princess Rhaenyra into fury. She was heavily pregnant at the time, and her rage drove her into premature labor. For 3 days she struggled, cursing her half-brothers and their mother. At last she bore a stillborn daughter, malformed and monstrous, whom she named Visenya. "They stole my crown and murdered my daughter," she declared. "They shall answer for it." Her grief hardened into resolve. At Dragonstone she held her own coronation, crowned with a circlet her father had worn, while Daemon Targaryen placed the crown upon her head. With her supporters, House Velaryon, her sons by Daemon, and several great lords, she declared herself Queen Rhaenyra of Westeros. The realm divided. The Greens, led by Aegon II, held King's Landing, the Red Keep, and the power of the crown. The Blacks, loyal to Rhaenyra, held Dragonstone and Driftmark, backed by Corlys Velaryon's fleet. Each side had dragons, more than a dozen between them. The stage was set for fire and blood. The first battles erupted quickly. In the Riverlands, old rivalries between House Blackwood and House Bracken flared anew. At the Battle of the Burning Mill, Prince Daemon in the Blackwoods won a decisive victory, killing Lord Bracken and securing the trident for the Blacks. At sea, the great fleets clashed at the Battle of the Gullet. The Triarchy allied with Aegon II, and their ships destroyed Corlys Velaryon's fleet. In the chaos, Rhaenyra's son Jacaerys Velaryon fell, as did his dragon Vermax. Prince Aegon the Younger's dragon Stormcloud also perished, though the boy himself survived. Far to the south, at the Battle of the Honeywine, young Prince Daeron Targaryen, Aegon II's brother, won his spurs. Riding Tessarion, the Blue Queen, he saved Lord Aemond Hightower's host from the combined forces of Lords Rowan, Tarly and Costane. The Greens claimed a great victory, showing that not all dragons belonged to Rhaenyra. By the end of the first year, Westeros was drenched in blood. The Blacks held the loyalty of the Velaryons and the strength of Daemon Targaryen, but they were weakened by the death of Jacaerys. The Greens held King's Landing and the backing of the Hightowers, yet unrest simmered even in the capital. Both sides had dragons, and both sides had lost them. The dance had begun, and already the realm trembled. Thus began the Dance of the Dragons, with brother crowned against sister, with dragonfire lighting the skies over Westeros. This was only the beginning. In our next episode, we tell of the great tragedies of the war: the fall of Harrenhal, the battles of Tumbleton, and the storming of the Dragon Pit. The first year of the dance brought blood and betrayal, but the years that followed would see Westeros torn apart in ways no one could imagine. Great lords fell, dragons turned against their riders, and the skies themselves burned. This was the height of the Dance of the Dragons. Desperate to strengthen her cause, Rhaenyra called for new riders to claim riderless dragons. Many came, baseborn and bold, and some succeeded. Among them were Hugh Hammer and Ulf the White, who mounted Vermithor and Silverwing, but ambition corrupted them. In 130 AC, at the First Battle of Tumbleton, they turned their cloaks mid-battle, joining the Greens. Their betrayal shattered Rhaenyra's host. Lord Aemond Hightower was slain in the fighting, along with Lord Rodrik Dustin of the North. Tumbleton itself was savagely sacked, thousands burned or drowned, women ravished, dragons feeding in the ruins. Meanwhile, Prince Aemond One-Eye took the mantle of Prince Regent after Aegon II and his dragon Sunfire were maimed at Rook's Rest. Bold and brash, Aemond marched on Harrenhal but found it abandoned. For while he chased shadows, Prince Daemon Targaryen had seized King's Landing. The Gold Cloaks turned on their officers, opening the gates to Daemon and Rhaenyra. Aegon's supporters paid in blood. Sir Otto Hightower, Lord Jasper Wilde, and Lords of Rosby and Stokeworth were beheaded. Alicent Hightower, the Dowager Queen, was imprisoned. Aegon II, his children, and Larys Strong barely escaped through secret ways. King's Landing became a cauldron of fear. The Shepherd, a ragged preacher, whipped mobs into frenzy, calling dragons demons and demanding their death. In 130 AC, the mob stormed the Dragon Pit. 5 dragons perished that day: Dreamfire, Morgul, Syrax, Taraxes, and Shrykos. Hundreds died in the madness, including Prince Joffrey Velaryon, who tried to ride Syrax to save his own dragon. On the same day the Dragon Pit fell, Prince Daemon Targaryen and Prince Aemond One-Eye met in their final battle. Over the waters of the God's Eye, Daemon leapt from Caraxes onto mighty Vhagar, driving Dark Sister through Aemon's eye. All 3 fell into the lake below. Caraxes crawled ashore to die, Vhagar sank, and Daemon's body was never found. In 131 AC, the Second Battle of Tumbleton saw dragons turn upon dragons. Prince Daeron the Daring died mysteriously. Sir Adam Velaryon, once accused of treachery, redeemed himself by dying bravely. With him perished 3 great dragons, Seasmoke, Tessarion and Vermithor. By then Westeros had gone mad. Brothers slew brothers, lords changed sides, and whole towns burned. The war left half the Targaryen dragons dead, their riders slain or scattered. Rhaenyra herself was driven from King's Landing, forced to sell her crown to pay for passage to Dragonstone, only to find Aegon II already there with his dying dragon Sunfire. Thus the dance reached its darkest hours. Betrayal at Tumbleton, slaughter in the Dragon Pit, and the death of princes above the God's Eye. The skies of Westeros turned black with smoke and red with fire, and the realm bled as never before. But the war was not yet done. In our next episode, we tell of the end of the dance, the deaths of both rival monarchs, and the boy who would rise from the ashes, Aegon III, the Dragonbane. By 130 AC, Westeros was a ruin. Towns burned, castles emptied, and dragons died in droves. Yet the war was not finished. Its final act would see the deaths of both claimants to the Iron Throne and the rise of a broken boy king. After the storming of the Dragon Pit and the death of her sons, Rhaenyra fled King's Landing. She was nearly penniless, forced to sell her crown for passage to Dragonstone. But when she arrived, she found her half-brother, Aegon II, waiting with his maimed dragon Sunfire. At first, she was offered mercy. Instead, Aegon chose vengeance. On the 22nd day of the 10th moon, before the eyes of her young son Aegon the Younger, the Queen was fed alive to Sunfire. Screams echoed across the castle as her dragon Syrax roared in chains. Thus perished Rhaenyra Targaryen, the realm's delight, the half-year queen. Though victorious, Aegon II was crippled. Sunfire too was dying. His enemies multiplied. The River Lords, the North under Lord Cregan Stark, and the remnants of Rhaenyra's supporters still rallied. When Lord Boros Baratheon fell at the Battle of the King's Road, the tide turned. The lads, young River Lords barely of age, smashed his host, and Stark marched south. Aegon's council urged him to surrender, but he refused. Even Corlys Velaryon, pardoned and raised to his council, counseled the king to take the Black. Instead, Aegon plotted to mutilate his nephew, Aegon the Younger, as a warning to foes. Before he could act, his own men poisoned him with wine. He died with blood on his lips in 131 AC. With both Rhaenyra and Aegon II dead, only one heir remained. The boy Aegon the Younger, son of Daemon and Rhaenyra. Crowned Aegon III, he became the youngest king in Targaryen history. But he was no realm's delight. He had watched his mother die in Dragonfire, seen his kin slaughtered, and lived through the death of nearly every great dragon of his house. From his reign forward, dragons dwindled. The last great beasts died, their hatchlings smaller and weaker. Aegon himself would be called the Dragonbane, the king who presided over the twilight of dragonkind. The dance ended not in triumph, but in ashes. Both monarchs lay dead, half the great houses ruined, and most dragons destroyed. The war had consumed a generation. Its legacy was bitter. Mistrust of dragons, fear of Targaryen ambition, and a realm scarred for decades. The dragons were never the same, and neither was Westeros. Thus ended the Dance of the Dragons, a war that began with ambition and ended with despair. Brother and sister, both slain. Dragons, once the symbols of Targaryen might, slaughtered in fire and chaos. And upon the throne, a broken child king, haunted for life by the sight of his mother's death. In the next episode, we turn to Aegon III, the Dragonbane. His tragic reign, the regency that ruled in his name, and the slow death of the last